I'm going to call the July 5th meeting of the West Des Moines City Council to order and invite you all to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please sign in.
Three members present.
Okay. Ryan, have there been any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Your Honor.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as distributed?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
3 yes.
Okay, item 2, Citizens Forum. This is a time for anybody that wants to address the council on any item that is not either part of public hearings or new business. Please come up to the podium, Milton, and give us your name and address for the record. We ask that you keep it to 5 minutes or less and that you keep it civil and respectful.
Is this the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
I am Milton Cole Duvall of 2001 South 40th Court, West Des Moines. Thank you for hearing me. We live in a time when there are many people in our midst that make the world a better place. There are people here in our midst, in our city, that make West Des Moines a better place to live. If they were not here, our city might not be what we know it to be. I'd like to share several experiences of this last month. The first person I would like to laud is Althea Holcomb. She orchestrates the food assistance program in Valley Junction. There are people in our community, lots of people, that for whatever reason have food scarcity. My wife and I have been picking up food at St. Timothy's Garden and delivering it to Valley Junction for distribution. First come, first serve. People begin to line up daily at 7 o'clock for the 8 a.m. availability. Today my wife and I delivered 325 pounds of fresh produce for Althea's orchestrated distribution at the city's distribution site. The second person that I would like to salute is Chief Scott. 2 weekends ago, I made my way to Hy-Vee. Outside the main entrance, there was a table with materials, another peace officer that works with Chief Scott. He was answering questions from adults and talking about bike safety and helmets to children. There was a person who, with great gusto, thought that he had the gotcha question. Chief Scott, with his usual pleasant, non-angered, self-assured demeanor, answered the question with information and a non-combative nature. The man was satisfied. 3 women that I would like to herald work here. These 3 staff are the reception desk area in City Hall. They encounter all sorts of folk. The person seeking information, the citizen that is angry about any number of real or imagined reasons. Tina Tate, Miranda Kurt, and Katie Johnson always treat each person with appropriate call for response. For information asked, these 3 represent all of you well. Althea Holcomb, Chief Scott, Tina Tate, Miranda Kurt, and Katie Johnson always treat citizens with humility, acceptance, and compassion. They represent you, the city manager, the mayor, and the city council in the best ways imagined. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Milton. You know, I really appreciate you coming here and telling us the great job that our staff does. It's not often that we get contacted as elected officials with good news and nice emails. It's usually somebody upset about something or complaining about something, and we do think we have phenomenal staff, and they do an incredible job. So thank you for highlighting that and for all the compliments.
People that might complain don't know the whole picture.
Well, I appreciate it very much. Thanks for being here.
Very much.
Okay, anybody else for Citizens Forum before I go online? Anybody else in the audience that would like to address the council on any item that is not either part of public hearings or new business? Okay, seeing no one in the chamber, I will go online. Anybody online that would like to address the council? For Citizens Forum, please hit *6. Again, *6, not #6, but *6 to unmute yourself and give us your name and address for the record. Okay, hearing no one, Citizens Forum is closed. We'll move on to item 3, Mayor, Council, Manager Report, Other Entities Update, and we will start to my right here with City Manager Tom Haddon.
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilman McKinney.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple quick items. Since our last meeting, the Icon Water Trails Group met. So an important update there is that they're in the process of hiring the next executive director. So they're asking for folks to share that, let the community know that they're in the process of hiring. If you're interested, on the website, the application can be found. And so obviously that's going to be an important role for the region as we build out the Water Trails network. Also, we also had a Bravo board meeting, and during our last meeting, we approved a $29,000 public grant for the Raccoon River Public Art Sensory Wall. So, you know, some of those dollars that are generated by hotel motel taxes here in West Des Moines go to Bravo. They're coming back in different ways, and this is just one of those. So that's all I have at this time, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Hardman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to, first of all, start off by saying I want to thank the Parks and Rec Department for orchestrating yet another year of a phenomenal parade. And I know this is done every year, and so you might think you just pull out a checklist and it's on autopilot, but we have a new Parks and Rec director, so I think this is his first time working through the parade as the leader of Parks and Rec. So next year, we can have it a little bit cooler. If you can manage that, we'd be great. But outside of that, I think the parade was nicely executed and well done. As much as I've heard, and I did get a lot of calls about fireworks, and Chief Scott, I told him to call that non-emergency number, so I don't know if you guys got a lot of calls. But people were concerned about fireworks and the noise and whatnot that's kind of in the local communities, and I know it's hard to manage that. But I also got emails and compliments from folks about the the display that we had regarding fireworks. Even someone sent a picture, so this is absolutely beautiful. So kudos to those that made it happen. I also had a Valley Junction Foundation meeting. I see Steve in the audience here, so I won't go through everything that they discussed, but we also had a meeting to discuss the strategic planning survey results that were done, and I think there were close to 630 or 40 people responding to this survey, and provided us with lots of information that affirmed what we're doing well, and also the issues that are still no surprise to us, like parking and other kinds of things. But the exercise was a good one. They have a tool. Data is powerful and informational and helps guide what we need to do in the direction. So I want to compliment the Valley Junction Foundation for conducting this strategic survey. And I thought the response rate was pretty good with 630-something folks responding to the survey. I also would like to make a plug out for the Valley Junction Foundation is that they're probably going to participate at the Iowa State Fair for the Main Street community informational booth, and so volunteers probably are needed. The booth is going to be open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., so if anyone has a desire to help and be a part of that, you know, see Steve and the foundation for that. And then I want to say, Steve, they did put me to work. After the parade, I stopped by the junction, and as I was trying to leave, I saw them at the beer stand and other places and passing out folks libations that were paying and adults and had a wristband. So I think I worked about an hour or so. Don't put that picture out on social media, but appreciate helping the foundation because we do know some of the proceeds help them. So I did the best I could after the parade and just want to thank the foundation for all the work that they do as well. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Lotz.
You know, I'll be real quick. I'm just going to echo Councilwoman Hardman's comments about the parade. What a great time. And as I was rolling through, sitting in the back of that convertible, all I could think about was, you know, that is the one true event where many people in our community all come together to celebrate. And it's just a wonderful experience. So I want to thank the staff for putting it together again. I can't imagine how much organization it takes. One other item, no, I did not run out of candy this year, so.
Congratulations.
That was a good upside to it all. So that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, I had 171 pounds of candy, and I distributed just the right amount. You don't want to run out in Valley Junction. That's not a good thing for you. I would not recommend that. But it was a great parade. I agree. Ryan and staff, phenomenal job pulling off that parade. It went off without a hitch. It was just an amazing parade. I agree it was a little bit hot, but you have to work on that for next year.
Yep.
I do want to give one update in regards to DART. As you may remember, I'm the current chair of DART for the rest of this year. And we've been trying to do some really innovative, creative things at DART, kind of reinventing public transit a little bit. And, in Urbandale, we have this Flex Connect zone where we partner with Uber and Yellow Cab to provide rides, first mile, last mile, basically to and from your home to a bus stop. In Ankeny, we've got on-demand service where essentially DART acts as the Uber ourselves and picks people up and drives them around, drops them off within a certain zone. Well, we also now in West Des Moines have DART on demand in a certain zone. And the boundaries of this, the north boundary is E.P. True Parkway. The south is Mills Civic Parkway. The east boundary is South 68th Street. And the west is Jordan Creek Parkway. So in that zone, you can use an app. You can get DART on demand, almost like Uber, to pick you up and take you anywhere within that zone. So I think that's a pretty cool deal. I hope West Des Moines residents really get a chance to try that out. And with that, we're going to move on to item 4, the consent agenda. Are there any items that any council person would like to have pulled and voted on separately? Okay, hearing none, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
3 yes.
Okay, item 5, old business. Item 5A, Jordan Ridge, east side of current terminus of South 81st Street, amend the Jordan Ridge Planned Unit Development Ordinance to designate and regulate single-family development within the current PUD Parcel B area, Jordan Ridge LLC. We have got an ordinance for approval of the third reading and adoption in final form. There are no outstanding issues and no changes from the previous reading, which was adopted unanimously with Hardman and Lotes absent. You'll notice that a lot of the readings that we're going to be doing in old business are going to be because we only had 3 votes at that time, so we were not able to, waive the third reading and adopt in final form. So. And with that, does somebody want to move approval or consideration of the third reading?
Motion to consider the third reading.
Okay,
Second.
okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Three yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, and ordinances pertaining to plan unit development number 136.
Motion to adopt in final form.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
3 yes.
Okay, item 5B, 7502 Raccoon River Drive, amend the zoning map to consistency zone to open space, GSS Inc. We, again, have an ordinance for approval of third reading and adoption in final form. There are no outstanding issues and no changes from the previous reading, which again was adopted at the last meeting, 3-0 with Hardman and Lotes absent.
So move.
Okay, it's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
3 yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 4 zoning districts and maps.
Okay, Renee, you want to move approval?
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Please vote.
3 yes.
Okay, item 5C, ordinance amendment, amend Title IX zoning to modify regulations pertaining to internal department processes and procedures associated with the development application submittals and reviews, city initiated. We have an ordinance for approval, the third reading and adoption of final form. There are no outstanding issues, no changes from the previous reading, which again was adopted 3-0 with Hardman and Lotes absent.
Move consideration of the third reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Three yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, Title IX zoning pertaining to internal submittal and review processes and procedures that are not consistent with Iowa State Code.
Move approval of the third reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, item 5D, we have amendment number 4 to the Fuller Road Urban Renewal Plan. It was city initiated. We've got an ordinance for approval of the third reading, adoption in final form. Again, there are no outstanding issues and no changes in the previous reading, which was adopted 3-0.
Motion to consider the third reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Three yes, an ordinance amending ordinance numbers 1862 and 1908, providing that general property taxes levied and collected each year on all property located within the amended Fuller Road urban renewal area in the city of West Des Moines be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued incurred by the city in connection with the amended Fuller Road urban renewal area.
Motion to approve and adopt in final form.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, item 5E, ordinance amendment, amend Title IX zoning to modify regulations pertaining to single-family detached residential setback regulations initiated by Ted Grobe. We have an ordinance for approval of the second reading. There are no outstanding issues and no changes from the previous reading, which again was adopted 3-0 at the last council meeting.
Move approval, or, move consideration of the second reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'll just say this is an item that came before the Development and Planning Subcommittee, and the applicant here, Ted Grobe, had shared with us that the price of building homes has increased, of course, substantially, not only because of material costs, but lending costs, debt service. And so I want to say thank you to the Development and Services folks that came through and put this together, because we are on a path of adopting a series of new ordinances that complement the new comprehensive plan. But in the meantime, folks were able to come together, put together a proposal that would, meet folks where they needed to be at a time where, it was kind of difficult because we're in the process of adopting these additional ordinances. So Linda, Lynn, Cara, others, thank you for your work in putting this together.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Three yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, Title IX zoning pertaining to residential single-family RS5 and single-family residential R1 districts to provide for reduced setbacks in certain situations.
Move approval of the second reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Three yes.
I know this is kind of unique for us.
Yeah.
You're taking them separately
Yeah.
like this. Okay, item 5F, ordinance amendment, amend Title II, boards and commissions to allow for youth ex officio non-voting member to serve on the Human Rights Commission. We've again got ordinance for approval of the second reading. There are no outstanding issues, no changes in the previous reading. It was adopted 3-0 at the last council meeting. Okay, Councilwoman.
Yes, motion to consider second
Okay.
reading.
Is there a
Second.
second? It's moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I do have a question about, when we had our last meeting, we talked about a couple minor amendments to the reading. I don't know,
Okay.
I don't have them exactly handy, but I know we talked about the time. Is it,
It looks like the ex officio member, to be the chairperson, you have to be a voting member, so the ex officio youth member could not be the chair of the commission. That's one thing that's in there.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know if
right.
there's something else.
that's exactly right. And then we also had direction to, give sufficient time for this youth ex officio member to be identified.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to do it in July. We wanted school to be able to reconvene. I think we talked about September. I don't know that it was actually part of the ordinance, but Dick or Tom, do you recall exactly what those minutes were? Or not what the minutes were, but what the direction was?
I thought it was 60 days that we were going to,
We have 60 days to make it happen.
yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't need to be part of the ordinance maybe, but you guys discussed it last time,
Yes.
waiting a little bit, giving some time.
Right.
It's
Okay.
more of the procedure that we'll use as opposed to putting it in the ordinance.
That's exactly right. So we can certainly take that up during the third reading, hopefully when both Greg and Kevin are back. But the idea was making sure we have sufficient time to be able to identify this ex officio member, and also making clear, and thank you, Mayor, you're right, that this ex officio member is a non-voting member.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to add to the discussion here as the liaison to the Human Rights Commission. I want to applaud the commission and Audrey for really looking at adding an element of generational diversity to the Human Rights Commission. I mean, we have a lot of talented young people that live in this city, and we're a city for all, and their voices matter. I think they can bring things and perspectives to the table that sometimes we as adults kind of overlook. So I'm really, really excited. I think this is really progressive for the city of West Des Moines to consider a youth member on this commission that will have a voice. And look at the leadership development that we're doing for someone and putting them on this commission, what they can say for a lifetime to come is that when I was 17, 18, I served on a West Des Moines Human Rights Commission. So it's development, it's a win-win all the way around, and I want to thank the commission and Audrey for the vision to say, let's put our mouths where we're, wanting to make sure diversity is represented at all levels.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for your comments. So I just want to be clear, Councilman McKinney, do you want to have staff take a look at doing an amendment on the third and final reading to add that in, or are you okay with the way that it is right now, that it's not in the ordinance itself, but?
Where we landed and where I remain today is that I think with direction for purposes of implementation can be outside the ordinance.
Okay.
And so, and I do acknowledge here that the Chapter 3 revision, that the chairperson has to be a voting member and the ex officio member is not a voting member.
Okay.
It was a longer conversation during the last council meeting, so I just didn't want that to get lost in this conversation.
And
So
maybe that can be reflected in the pinky for the third and final reading.
that could be helpful, just so there's a record of it somewhere.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. All right, any other discussion on this item before we vote? Okay, please vote.
Three yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title II Boards and Commissions, Chapter 9 Human Rights Commission for the purpose of adding a youth ex officio non-voting member.
Motion to adopt and approve in final form.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. I think it's just a second reading.
Yeah, we're on
but-
second reading.
Sorry.
Okay.
Motion to
So
approve
moved.
second reading?
Yeah.
Do I have a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
We can't do final form today, right?
No, correct.
We need to go for the third.
Three yes.
Okay. We'll wait for.
Yeah, this is something we're not used to here, so we're all just
this is
reacting to
different.
it. It is different, it's a little different. Okay, item 5G. We've got Title IV, Health and Safety Regulations, Chapter 5C, Solid Waste Control, a modification of fees and charges. We've got an ordinance for approval of the second reading. Again, there are no outstanding issues, no changes from the previous reading, which was again adopted 3-0 at the last council meeting.
Motion to consider the second reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Any discussion?
One comment I'll make, Your Honor, is, Councilman Hudson, who is not here tonight, but he and I took this up at FNA, and it's clear to us some of our fees and charges are behind where the market's at, so I think this is due. And they seem to be fair to me, and so I'm pleased with the outcome here.
Well, thank you guys for doing your homework on FNA and for reviewing this, and appreciate your comments. Any other comments, discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Three yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IV Health and Safety Regulations, Chapter 5, Article C, pertaining to solid waste collection charges.
Motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, item 5H, High Street Storm Sewer Improvements. This item was deferred at the last council meeting. We have got two resolutions and a motion which we can take together. There are no outstanding issues. And this comes to us with a split recommendation out of the Public Services City Council Subcommittee. with Matt in favor of this and Kevin against it. Again, deals with drainage in this area. We had lengthy discussion on how to address this, and we came up with what we thought was the best, smartest way to do that, and this does that. So does somebody want to move approval of the resolutions in the motion?
So moved.
Okay, it's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'd just say that, echo your point, I guess, Mayor, that a lot of time was put into this. We went through at least, I think, 2 workshops, came through the Public Services Subcommittee several different times. And it was great to see we had an estimate, and the bid came in significantly under the estimate to do the project itself. And
I noticed that as well. That's great.
it is. And in fact, after the last council meeting where we deferred, I had a resident reach out to me saying, we need to get this thing moving forward because of the stormwater issues in the area. So again, I was supportive at the subcommittee, and this is consistent with what we heard during the workshops a year ago.
Any other discussion? Yep, thank you for your comments. Okay, hearing none, please vote.
3 yes.
Okay, moving on to item 6, public hearings, item 6A. We are being asked for this item to defer this item to the July 17th City Council meeting. Can I get a motion to defer item 6A?
So move.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, please vote.
3 yes.
Okay, that will be deferred to the July 17th City Council meeting. Item 6B. This is the time and the place for a public hearing to consider the creation of Ponderosa Urban Renewal Plan and the Ponderosa Tax Increment Financing District initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
June 23rd, 2023, in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comment to this hearing?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes with 1 absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the urban renewal plan.
Okay, anybody from the audience that would like to address the council on item 6B, please come to the podium here, give us your name and address for the record. We ask that you keep it to 5 minutes or less, and you keep your comments civil and respectful. Is there anybody in the chamber that would like to address the council on item 6B? Okay, is there anybody online that would like to address the council on item 6B? Please hit *6 to unmute yourself. Again, *6. Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We've got a resolution for approval of the urban renewal plan, and we have an ordinance creating the Ponderosa Tax Increment Financing District. We need to take these separately. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Motion to
3
consider.
yes.
Okay, now can I get a motion, Councilman Lotz, to consider the first reading of the ordinance?
Motion to consider the first reading of the ordinance.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, please vote.
3 yes, an ordinance providing that general property taxes levied and collected each year on all property located within the Ponderosa urban renewal area in the city of West Des Moines be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to, and indebtedness incurred, including bonds issued or to be issued incurred by the city in connection with the Ponderosa urban renewal area.
Motion to approve the first reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
3 yes.
Okay, item 6C. This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider approval of a development agreement between POMP of West Des Moines LLC and the City of West Des Moines, initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
June 23rd, 2023, in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comment to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody from the audience that would like to address the council on item 6C, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself, and do the same thing. Okay, seeing no movement in the chamber and hearing nothing from our online folks, I will declare the public hearing closed. We've got a resolution for approval of the development agreement. There are no outstanding issues, and this was also approved unanimously by Finance Administration.
Motion
get-
to approve.
Okay, motion approved. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, item 6D. Item 6D, we're being asked to continue the public hearing to the July 12th special council meeting. Can I get a motion to continue the public hearing?
So move.
Okay, so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, moving on. Item 7, new business. Item 7A, Galleria at Jordan Creek, Plat 16, 6255 and 6275 Mill Civic Parkway. Approve a preliminary plat to create 2 lots for commercial development, IHWOP LLC and WCKLC Red Robin LC. We have got a resolution for approval of the preliminary plat. There are no outstanding issues, and this was approved by both Planning and Zoning and Development and Planning unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the preliminary plat?
So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion at all on this? Anybody from the audience or online that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, hearing no one, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, item 7B, plat of survey parcel 2023-63, 4,000 Turnberry Drive and 4119 Plumwood Drive. Approved plat of survey to create a 0.06 acre parcel for the transfer of ownership. Midwest Oilseeds, Inc. We've got a resolution for approval and release of the plat of survey. There are no outstanding issues, and one condition of approval in regards to the lot tie agreement that is required to be executed. This was also approved unanimously by the Development and Planning City Subcommittee. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, please, well, hold on, I'm sorry. Anybody from the audience or anybody online that would like to address the council on this item? If you're online, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, item 7C, we have an amendment to City Code, Title 8, Building Regulations, Chapter 2, Building Codes, Article A, Building Code, and we've got an ordinance for approval of the first reading. There are no outstanding issues, and this was approved unanimously by the Development and Planning City Subcommittee at their June 5th meeting. Can I get a motion to consider the approval of the first reading?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion at all?
Yeah, I'd just say, this did come before, I'm trying to think, it came before
Development and
Development Planning, yeah. And, I just appreciate there was additional outreach that happened because, oftentimes we do things at the local level and then it gets reported up to the legislature and then the legislature is upset by different regulations that have been adopted at the local level. So Rod, in this case, did some additional outreach to the professional developers of Iowa, the Iowa Real Estate Developers Association, and others to make sure that these amendments are not going to be something, or at least they're aware of them, and if they had any feedback, they could let us know. And, so I think it's a great practice to let the development community, especially all the development that's happening in our community, know what it is that we're doing. No concerns were expressed back, and so I just want to say thank you to Rod and everybody that was involved.
Yeah, I think that's a great practice. I think we've typically tried to do that, contact all the affected groups and get their feedback and input. And I feel comfortable moving this forward, that was done, and that we haven't heard anything negative to this point about the change that we're doing here. So, okay, any other discussion? Anybody from the audience who would like to address the council on this item, item 7C? Hit *6 to unmute yourself if you're online. Okay, Hearing no one, please vote.
Three yes, an ordinance amending the City Code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by repealing Title 8 Building Regulations, Chapter 2 Building Codes, Article 8 Building Code, and in lieu thereof adopting the 2021 edition of the International Building Code and International Residential Code.
Move approval of the second, or the first reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, item 7D, Amendment City Code Title 8, Building Regulations, Chapter 6, Construction Site Erosion and Sediment Control, Section 3, Site Visit Procedures, to modify regulations relating to MS4 quarterly site visit inspection fees. We have got an ordinance for approval, the first reading. There are no outstanding issues, and this was approved unanimously by the Public Services City Council Subcommittee. Can I get someone to move consideration of the first reading?
So move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'll just say.
Go ahead. You're on a roll.
No, hey, it's not often you see both the development community and city staff come together and find something that's going to streamline. So I know, Brian, you presented this, and so I know you and the finance department worked on this. So thank you for bringing this forward. It sounds like it's going to provide certainty to the development community, but also streamline the process for the city to get these sorts of things through the process. So it was a win-win across the board.
Absolutely. Any other discussion before I open it up to the audience? Okay, anybody in the audience like to address the council item 7D? Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Give us your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing and hearing no one, I'd ask the council to please vote. There you go.
Three yes, an ordinance amending the City Code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title 8 Building Regulations, Chapter 6, Construction Site Erosion and Sediment Control.
Okay, does somebody want to move approval of the first reading?
Move approval.
Okay, is there a
Second.
second? It's been moved-
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Three yes.
Okay, item 7E. We have a motion to deny the renewal application for a Class LC liquor license for BBMG Mills Civic Parkway LLC, doing business as the Grumpy Goat Tavern. I would ask for a motion to deny the renewal of the application for the liquor license, and then I'll ask if there's a second, and then we will open it up to anybody in the audience that would like to address the council. Okay, is there a motion to deny the renewal of the application for the liquor license?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I will, knowing there are people here that would like to address the council, I will open this up to first people in the chamber, and then anybody online that would like to address the council on item 7E. So if you could, please give us your name and address for the record. And I'd ask again that you keep it to 5 minutes or less, keep it civil and respectful. Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council members. My name is Matt Schultz. Address 4090 Westtown Parkway, Suite 108, West Des Moines, Iowa. I represent the Grumpy Goat and would like to speak on behalf of the Grumpy Goat. But before I do, I'd like to ask the council to receive and file some items. So I want to address, I mean, I know I only have 5 minutes, and I think you all received this electronically this afternoon. I want to address the concerns of the city attorney regarding the application for the Grumpy Goat Tavern. I think we all know the main reason why this has been put forward, and I think it really relates to everything that's been in the media. But I want to first address the financial aspect. There's allegations that Mr. McFadden has 500,000 plus federal tax lien and other liens from the state, which is just not accurate. And I want to give some explanation. First of all, that federal tax lien was related to the PPP loan during COVID that Mr. McFadden received in order to maintain his businesses. As you all know, those loans were forgiven by the federal government, and just like Mr. McFadden, so many small business owners across this country took advantage of that. But when those loans were forgiven, it created a taxable event, made it income, which was then taxable. And so Mr. McFadden had to decide how I'm going to pay this large amount of money back. And he made the business decision to enter into an agreement with the IRS, which is in your packet, I believe under Exhibit A, as well as his payment history. He's paid almost $250,000 back towards that, has never missed a payment. And quite frankly, if the council said you wanted that paid in order to approve his liquor license, he would go and pay that right now. But it was a business decision to enter into a payment plan with the IRS, just like many people do. And as far as the state tax liens, we inquired of the city. We were provided, I think in Exhibit A list of judgments from the city clerk that were less than $1,500. All of those, except for one, had been paid, and the other was an oversight, which has now been paid. And so I think from a financial standpoint, which is one of the elements that you look at, I think Mr. McFadden meets those elements. When you look at the criminal history, okay, this is what we've been seeing in the media for several months. And I just want to be clear. From my perspective, there were charges and things put in front of you that were dismissed, that are not convictions. And when you look at the administrative code, when you look at the state code, it talks about convictions. And so I really think you need to look at three different items, which I listed in that packet of information. One is the recent charges, okay? And the second and third relate to simple misdemeanors from 2015 and 2012. So let's focus on what's really at hand and what we've seen in the media recently. Listen, we have all made mistakes in our lives, and we all wish we could have a do-over. Mr. McFadden went to court, and he pled guilty, and he took responsibility. He's on probation, and he's following all of the requirements of probation. And I think that that's really important when you evaluate it. No one's saying that what he pled guilty to isn't serious, but I think you need to look at the track record of the Grumpy Goat, not just that criminal conviction, but look at the track record of the Grumpy Goat. Over the last 15 years, as far as I can tell, there have been no violations at any of the Grumpy Goats of Mr. McFadden's liquor license. He's run a very good business here in West Des Moines. And I take a little bit of issue with the fact that the city attorney identified this as no financial impact. And I understand why, but I think you need to look deeper. The Grumpy Goat, over just the last 5 years, has generated over $1.5 million in sales tax for the city and for the state. And that's during a shutdown period of COVID. And so to say there's no financial impact if you vote against the liquor license, it's just not accurate. And I think there's a larger financial impact, and that is to the men and women who work at the Grumpy Goat who are here today, who I think you will be hearing from. If you vote against the liquor license,
If you could wrap it up.
I will wrap it up. You will be putting them out of jobs. And so there is a larger picture here that I'm asking you to look at. I'm asking you to look at the Grumpy Goat. Give Mr. McFadden another chance. You can vote to deny. You could also vote to approve. And if you want to see that financial liability paid, continue this 2 weeks, and we'll get it paid if that's the issue. But we're asking for you to give Mr. McFadden another chance and to keep the jobs of all these hardworking people. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, anybody else that would like to address the council on item 7E? Anybody in the chamber? And then I'll go online, see if there's anybody online.
Hi, good evening.
Evening. And please give us your name and address for the
Yes, sir.
record.
Nick Fogel, address is 5500 Boulder Drive, West Des Moines, Iowa.
And the last name?
Fogel, F-O-G-L-E.
Go ahead, Nick.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Fogel, and I currently hold the position of Operation Manager for our company. I started for Mr. McFadden in 2014 as an assistant manager at BBMG. Throughout the years, I've been a part and witnessed a great, excuse me,
Okay, take your time.
a little emotional, so I apologize.
Take your time.
I've witnessed a great amount of what Mr. McFadden has done for not only the community, for me personally, and for our company. In regards to all the things that Mr. McFadden does for our employees, there are fun things. We throw an annual Christmas party where Mr. McFadden spends tens of thousands of dollars on prizes every year. No one goes home empty-handed. In addition to the prizes, we also feed everyone, and they're guests. One year, Mr. McFadden even gave away a BMW to a cook in need of transportation. It's a pretty big production, and it's all for our employees, who we love. We've held multiple functions over the years, which include pontoon boats, party buses, brewery tours, pool parties, etc. If there's ever an employee in need, Mr. McFadden is adamant about getting them help. From everything from transportation, by loaning them a personal vehicle of his, or even helping finance that vehicle, to helping with personal bills, helping them find places to live, and helping them navigate their finances, which can be tough, especially in these times. Helping them find avenues of income by providing extra jobs and side jobs, helping employees battle addiction, and helping them get the help they need by helping them pay for a rehab program. It's always been wellness first in regards to our staff. In an industry where it's an ever-evolving door, our main focus is retention. And the people that work for us, they come first, and we love them. We've also helped our local communities. Every year, we donate hundreds of socks to our local church to help with Christmas. We do school drives every July. Every February, we do a month of love where we use social media, and they help us select 2 families in our local community in need of financial support. We've helped raise $10,000 for the Angels for Sam organization, who helps with families dealing with childhood cancer. We ran a promotion 2 years ago where we raised $10,000 for a family that was in need of support for their back medical bills. We've run 2 separate golf outings, which raised $15,000 total, $5,000 to the city of Des Moines for Parks and Recs, and $10,000 to the For the Veterans organization, which helps troubled vets. During COVID, which was not easy for us, we gave away over 10,000 meals at our 50th Street location to anyone who was in need, no questions asked. Recently, we held a small benefit silent auction for a friend of ours, the Patras family, which helped raise thousands of dollars for his medical bills. In 2019, we ran a Secret Santa promotion where we selected a school in Des Moines that was in need. We got the names of those children from the school, put every kid's name on a tree, and that child was drawn by employees and customers, and their Christmas wish was made true by providing Christmas presents, and we delivered those days before. As for our staff, we're family. We've become such a tight-knit group over the years. Most of these people were at my wedding. Majority of them are both my girls' birthday parties every year. I'm sorry, I'm getting a phone call. You know, when we're close, and because we support each other. You know, we support the business, we support Steve, and we share in a common goal, and that's to provide West Des Moines with a superior product and aim to make a healthy, stable, and healthy, stable living for our families. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else who would like to address the council on this item? Come up to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Please keep it to 5 minutes or under.
My name is Casey Ernsberger. I live at 1333 East 36th Court in Des Moines. Before I start my statement, I just want to say I've kind of had to chop this down from what was originally a little bit longer. So I beg your patience if it sounds disjointed at all. Honorable Mayor Trumbull and members of the West Des Moines City Council, I was recently asked to give testimony regarding my experience working for the Grumpy Goat Tavern and concerning what this company has meant to me over the last 5 years. I am more than happy to do so. I will have to necessarily share some personal details throughout my testimony, and I ask that you bear with me as I feel they are absolutely indispensable in demonstrating the type of company that we are. Some of these details may at first seem irrelevant to that goal, but I strongly feel that the coalescence is the only thing that can adequately illuminate both the company and the people that I work with. I met Nick Fogel 5 years ago, a mere 3 weeks after my wife at the time found out that she was pregnant with our daughter. The company I worked for before was malignant with sour individuals and an increasingly despairing work environment. I will never forget my interview with him. We sat at a table at the Ankeny location and talked for a little while. I could tell instantly that this was a man with meteoric work ethic, but also the aura of a person who endeavored to lift the people around him to create the best possible work environment. I got the impression that he likewise saw that value in me and the ethic that I've always strived to embody. About 7 months after that first meeting, my wife gave birth to our daughter, Aurora, prematurely. She spent the next month in the neonatal intensive care unit at Methodist Hospital. My wife was in labor for 73 consecutive hours, and when I told Nick what was happening, not only did he instantly assure me that all of my immediate responsibilities to the shifts I was scheduled were relieved, but upon learning that Aurora would have to spend so much time in NICU, he asked me if I wanted to temporarily move to our downtown location, which was 2 blocks south of Methodist Hospital. This was his idea. It hadn't even occurred to me to ask for such a thing because I was still not used to the idea that my employer would care enough to reshuffle the entire schedule of 2 different locations indefinitely. After a month, Aurora was released to go home with Mom and Dad for the first time, and when my coworkers found out that she was home, the celebration was palpable. Not long after that, my wife and I bought our first house. This was an accomplishment that in my wildest dreams in my early 20s I never imagined that I would achieve, but we qualified on my income alone. This is not a detail that I shared to boast. I did not have the greatest childhood, and owning my own house was simply something that was beyond the reach of my imagination growing up. And yet there I was, standing in my living room, my own living room, feeling the breeze of my air conditioner for the very first time. This may seem like a trivial thing, but to someone who never believed it was possible, it meant the entire world to me. Sadly, as it inevitably happens to some people, my wife grew distant over time and eventually decided to cancel her subscription to the rest of our lives together. I woke up one morning and she was gone. I, who did not feel similarly disenfranchised in the hopelessness of our relationship, was absolutely devastated. Before I said that I didn't know I could have made it through, that was cut out. Another day that will live in my memory forever was the day that she left. I had to go to work that night after spending all day trying to call my ex. Peggy Fogel, Nick's wife, and my fellow coworker was standing near the front door when I walked in. She could tell instantly that there was something wrong, and when I told her what happened, she switched from coworker into mom mode in the amount of time it takes a lamb to shake its tail. The conversation we had next is between her and I, but what I can tell you is that without it, I may have drowned in the despair that very night. This is not a detail that I wanted to share publicly, But again, I feel that it is absolutely vital to establish the nature of our company and the people I work with. This was the darkest hour of my entire life, and they helped carry me through it. In the wake of the divorce, I managed to keep my house. However, through a series of unfortunate events, I became very close to losing it again. Nick did everything in his power to help me out of that situation and express his willingness to go even further. Nick Fogel is not simply my employer or my direct supervisor, he is my friend. There is not a moment that I have spent in this company that I have not felt loved, wanted, and appreciated. To be perfectly honest, I haven't always felt that way in my own home, so the fact that I had it at work, I consider to be nothing short of incredible. It's not just me. The family environment extends everywhere that I've ever looked. Our owner, Steve McFadden, employs several hundred people, and despite the public reputation that he has accrued lately, I have, on many occasions, witnessed the depth and the depth of his generosity and kindness. And the most amazing part is how quiet he is about it. There was someone who worked with us a few years ago, and I will not say his name, but he had a run of bad luck and as a result developed what I can only describe as a very serious drinking habit. This is not widely known, but Steve personally convinced him to seek treatment and also completely paid for it. I can think of many other good deeds that he has done to help people in the time that I have known him, but for the sake of privacy, their privacy and his, I do not wish to reveal any more details, as Steve himself does not publicize his good deeds.
Casey, if you could wrap it up, just to be fair to everybody who'd like to speak.
Yeah.
Your 5 minutes is up.
Honestly, these people are my family. Every single one of them has always done everything that they ever could to help me, my family, my daughter. They have never once hesitated. They have always been there. I believe that the public perception that we have gained in this community is unfair. And I just wanted to stand here before you today and try and dispel some of that, because I felt that someone needed to stand against the tide of public opinion. He's a good man. These are good people, and I love them.
Thank you for sharing, Casey. Appreciate it. Okay, anybody else that would like to address the council on this item? Anybody in the chamber, and then I'll go online. Please give us your name and address for the record. Okay. Yeah. Okay, please give us your name and address for the record, and again, please keep it to 5 minutes or
Casey
under.
Patras, 745 Southeast Murphy Drive, Waukee, Iowa. As the previous people up here speaking, their employees, I speak as a friend. I've known Mr. McFadden for 25 plus years. He's helped me out through difficult times. Sorry.
Take your time.
He's helped me out through difficult times and has been there recently for me in a deep depression and helped me get out of it. The last few years has not been good for me. He's been there to help me. I've lost my leg. I've been diagnosed with genetic disease of my heart where I'm on the heart transplant list. He graciously, while I was in the hospital, without even asking, brought my daughters to me in Omaha, drove them down there so they could see me. I mean, that's the type of person he is. Him and Nick opened up an establishment, held a benefit to help me pay my past medical bills. It's not someone that an immoral person does. I'm a Shriner and a Freemason. I choose closely who I hang with. And this gentleman here, I would hang with every day. Because you guys see the dark side with the news, negativity. You don't see the positive side, what he's done. So, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, anybody else?
Hello, my name's Chad Cook. Address is 401 3rd Street, Des Moines. And I'm here. I work for Steve. I'm a manager. I've worked for him, around 25 years or so, opened many places and around the state, other states as well. I'm in conjunction with everyone that they've said. He's a wonderful man. Our businesses, we run a great business. We do everything as far as liquor, everything in accordance with the law. I mean, we make sure people don't underage drink. We run a pretty tight business. On the other side, you know, Steve is getting a bad rap. No one knows him as a person. He's a wonderful man. He's helped a lot of people. He's just like these guys said, there's hundreds and hundreds of people that are not here that would say the same thing, and I wish they would. I've been happy to work for him, and I'd like to work for him till I retire. So I hope you will change your minds and give us our liquor license. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Okay, anybody else in the chamber before I go online? Please, go ahead. Give us your name and address for the record.
Yes.
Again, please keep
my
it to
name
5
is Bill
minutes.
Cutmus. I live at 1067 Burr Oaks here in West Des Moines, Iowa. I'm an attorney, and I represent Steve individually. Matt represents Grumpy Goat. The complaint, among other things, refers to McFadden's criminal history. In January, as it's noted in your, I'm going to call it a complaint. In January of 2023, Mr. McFadden was charged with 1 count of stalking, 6 counts of unauthorized use of a GPS, and 1 count of harassment in a 3rd degree. I represented Steve with respect to all those charges. So let me address those aforesaid charges. They all involve a former soon-to-be fiancé and soon-to-be wife. For privacy's sake, I won't mention her name. During their relationship, they both suspected that they were not faithful to one another. So they agreed to share the locations by the use of their iPhones, both their iPhones, to give assurance of their faithfulness. In preparation for his forthcoming marriage, they began looking for homes and, in fact, made an offer on a home in Ankeny and discussed commingling their assets and picked out wedding rings and an engagement ring, all those things. But nonetheless, Mr. McFadden was a little bit suspicious on whether or not she was truly faithful. So he placed a GPS device in his fiancee's car. He just wasn't fully satisfied. He wanted to test her to determine whether or not she would remain faithful. By the same token, this soon-to-be wife didn't do exactly the same thing, but what she had done is she monitored his own home to test him, so to speak, because she suspected he was cheating on her. Well, because of the GPS device, Steve discovered that his soon-to-be wife was seeing another person. He became depressed, heartbroken, because he knew he had to break off their relationship and their soon-to-be wedding. Ladies and gentlemen, the GPS incident, which you've spoken to in the complaint, is a woeful lover's tale, and it is as old as time, and we all know that. Both the prosecution, I represented him, both the prosecution and the court were satisfied that Steve's conduct was not one of a predator, and his use of the GPS device was merely to determine whether or not she was faithful. This is not an incident of bad moral character, but a weakness of the human heart, a mistake for which he has apologized, and he will apologize today before this city council. Because of those circumstances, Steve was treated lightly when he pled guilty to this offense. He was given no jail time. It is, in fact, a serious misdemeanor, and that's it. It's not a felony. It's not a felony. Now, let me address the stalking charge, which is a serious charge. And you folks have referenced that in the complaint. First of all, you have to know what statutorily, what does stalking mean? I'm going to quote from the statute itself. It is repeated physical proximity to a person that would cause the person to feel terrorized and frightened that the perpetrator intends to cause bodily injury or even death. That's what stalking means. That's the statutory definition. And the press and social media keeps talking about stalking. What happened to that stalking charge? That stalking charge was dismissed in its entirety because there was no evidence of stalking. These two people were about to get married, keeping that in mind, about to get married. And they were constantly in proximity to one another. There was never a feeling of being terrorized or fear of bodily injury or death, which is required under a stalking charge. The stalking charge was actually absurd and ludicrous, and the charge was dismissed in its entirety because there was no evidence of stalking. As you all know, the state would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this female was fearful for her life or great bodily injury. There was none. It was dismissed. In June of 2022, which is also listed in the complaint, you note that McFadden was charged with disorderly conduct in Florida. Well, what happened to that complaint? The case was dismissed because it was flat out frivolous and flat out untrue. Simple as that, pure and simple. So this now evolves to the Alford plea, which you folks have enumerated. And I'm going to discuss the Alford plea in full. In July,
You better discuss it in full in 47 seconds.
Oh, can you
So-
give me the extra time? I mean,
Trying to be fair to everybody, to give everyone a chance to speak.
do you know what an Alford plea is? The Supreme Court in 2018 clarified what an Alford plea, it's defined. Pleading guilty pursuant to Alford does not automatically mean the defendant is actually guilty. Sometimes an innocent, this is from the Supreme Court, sometimes an innocent defendant is choosing the lesser of two evils, and it goes on that. What I'm saying is an Alford plea, despite the evidence, despite contrary to the evidence, you can enter it as proclaiming your innocence. And that's what he did. And why did he do the Alford plea? Why did he do that? He was attempting to get an SBA loan. And one of the provisions on attempting a $1 million SBA loan requires that no criminal charges can be pending before they would give you a loan. So he entered a plea of pursuant to Alford, North Carolina versus Alford, so he could get the actual loan in which he ultimately received. Let me then conclude.
Please wrap it up. Your time has
All right.
gone past the
I
5
was going to
minutes.
say, Steve has been a victim of, as you all know, from a Niagara of misinformation. And I venture to say that those who write these emails and Instagram, et cetera, they know nothing about the positive aspects of him and the dismissal of the lawsuits, et cetera. Let me finish it. I'll introduce my statement to you, okay?
Okay.
Let me end it this way then. It's not fair to judge him from half-baked truths. You folks have been gracious enough to allow us to try to fully flesh out what the whole truth is. It's not fair to him just to judge him on half-truths or half-baked truths. In the end, when I read the multitude of messages on social media concerning Stephen McFadden, I can't help but be reminded of Mark Twain, who famously said, "It's not what you don't know that hurts, it's what you think you know and it ain't so." And I think that applies to Mr. McFadden.
Thank you so much for your comments. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Okay, anybody else in the audience like to address the council?
Steve McFadden, 5135 Ashworth Road, West Des Moines. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council. Took a lot of time writing this a few times. It's been hard to think of what to say to you and to the public, for that matter. We've all heard and assumed so many comments through social media, but I want to tell you who I am. I started my restaurant ownership early when I turned 19 years old, and have since owned in 5 different states, approximately 30 locations, operating 10 to 12 at one time. And I currently hold a federal liquor license as well as the state, which is very difficult to get. I would have to estimate that I've attained over 100 liquor licenses when you count all the renewals throughout my years. None of this came easy, and I couldn't have done it without these people, without hard work, without contractors, without lawyers, without building owners. I'm proud to say I've never received any license violations in the bar business, and they've always been performed professionally by me and my staff. All this said, I haven't been perfect, and I've made some mistakes along the way, especially in my personal life. Today, I stand here to tell you that I'm truly sorry. And I'm sorry to the public. I'm sorry to my employees. I'm sorry to the people that hurt the community. I'm learning from my mistakes, and I'm dedicated in making things right. A lot of people have told you that I do things. I don't ever boast about them. I don't talk about it. I just do it. But losing the liquor license would certainly break up so many families and the co-working friends that they are. Tonight, I ask the council sincerely to please consider my history of 25 years. And finally, please consider my mistakes as being in the past. Please consider the people that are behind me, the other employees that couldn't make it tonight. I don't have much more to say, to be honest. I plan to be a better man, a better person in the community, and that the community that I really do love. I love Des Moines, and I love people here still, and I just want to do the best I can. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, anybody else from the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, anybody online, please hit *6 to unmute yourself. Give us your name and address for the record. Okay, hearing nobody, I would like to have Dick Szynski, our city attorney, basically talk about the reasons that we have there as to why you're recommending the denial of the liquor license.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Before we begin, just so we all agree, Mr. Cummins, what you're saying basically is an offered plea is Mr. McFadden agreed that the state obtained sufficient evidence, which he did not refute, that he willfully injured his victim. He agreed that the state.
That's not an offered plea. It's been.
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
Oh, I'm sorry.
your time,
I'm not sure I understand. This is new to me. I'm sorry.
that's okay.
But
Let him finish.
Mr. McFadden did not refute the fact that the state had obtained sufficient evidence to obtain a conviction of a willful injury on his victim, and that's what he accepted in his Alford plea, in which he then received a deferred judgment. Is there any disagreement with that?
If you want to come, are you asking him?
Yeah, I just want to clarify that. What I'm saying is, Mr.
Come up to the microphone, please, if you'd like to address this.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying, Mr. McFadden agreed that the state had sufficient evidence to obtain a conviction. He did not refute that. He did not admit that he did what he's charged with, but he did not refute the fact that there was sufficient evidence that the charge of willful injury with causing serious injury, a Class C felony, he did not refute that the state obtained sufficient evidence to that, and he accepted that. Is that not correct?
You have to understand that's not Alford, though. That's in what he explained to the court and the prosecutor themselves. They gave him a deferred sentence primarily because of his proclaiming his innocence. Yes, there was evidence against him, but the Supreme Court in the Schmidt case, which I've just spoken to, states that you can actually be innocent despite the evidence. And that's the position that we took. And he maintained his innocence. So it's changed since 2018. It's been more clarified.
And
there was an issue on
you
whether
can also be guilty, you just choose not
it's
to
pursuant.
fight the cause.
Yeah, it is a plea of guilty. You're correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, the reason the City Attorney's Office is recommending denial is because of the lack in what we allege is the good moral character of Mr. McFadden. And I'll just cite from the statute, good moral character is defined as a person who has financial standing and good reputation as will satisfy the alcohol administrator, or in this case, the City Council, that the person will comply with all laws, ordinances, and regulations applicable to the person's operations under the state alcoholic beverages statute. And then it goes on to say, when evaluating the licensee's good reputation, factors include a record of timely submission of all required federal, state, or local tax returns or forms, and prompt payment of all taxes due. That's in the Iowa Administrative Code and is adopted in the state code. So I know Mr. Schultz had gone on about the two federal tax liens that are against Mr. McFadden at this time for about $500 and some thousand. I'm not sure if that's because he owed income on that, if that was a rather large PPP, if that's the income he owed, or if that was subject to maybe inappropriate collection. I don't know. We're not disputing that, but they are outstanding, and I think he's paying those back. But between 2001 and today, Mr. McFadden has had 18 separate tax violations in which he's failed to pay his taxes promptly, resulting in 15 tax liens against his properties, various properties around the state. Here at West Des Moines, one I believe in Norwalk, and 9 of those violations for failure to pay his income tax in a timely manner, and 9 of those were for sales tax violations on his bar establishments. 9 different violations over the course of 20 years. So to say that this is recent conduct is not accurate. This has been an ongoing course of conduct for 20 years. And the amount of taxes that were owed that were not timely paid was over $275,000 in those 9 cases. So that's one of the reasons that the city attorney is making a recommendation. Another reason is the current federal tax liens, but as I understand, they're making amends for that. There's also the criminal history, as you've expressed. And I know what you've talked about in the last, in January of 2021. However, between 2012, when he had a conviction for public intoxication, and 2015, he was charged with harassment in the first degree, which is a felony charge. That was pled down to a simple misdemeanor, harassment in the third degree. You're shaking your head, but it's on the record. If that's not true, then I think the state record.
Harassment in the first degree is an aggravated misdemeanor.
Mr. Schultz, if you're going to speak, you got to come up to the microphone. You know that better than anybody.
Okay.
Well, if you're addressing me, I just,
online that would like to talk to.
if you are addressing me, I just
You
want
missed your opportunity.
I stand corrected. The harassment is,
No, actually, I was on and you didn't take it.
Ma'am, I asked if there was anybody online that would like to address the council. Please hit *6 to unmute yourself. Give us your name and address for the record, and I heard nothing, so. Okay, go ahead, Dick.
okay. So that was in 2015. He was charged with harassment in a third degree. It was pled to a first degree, first degree, and it was pled down to a third degree, simple misdemeanor. There was also no contact order issued against his victim.
May I make a correction also? May I? I believe you mentioned that he pled guilty to pursuant to Alford on a Class C felony. That's not correct. He pled guilty to a serious misdemeanor, not a Class C felony.
But it was charged as a Class D.
It originally started off as a Class C, that's correct, but the ultimate conclusion was serious misdemeanor, deferred judgment.
Okay.
Thank you.
but it was, he admitted to the violation.
The
or he
the
admitted-
question is whether or not he meets the definition of good moral character under the Code of Iowa, and you do not believe that he does, based on a number of criminal convictions that have been in the past, as well as how many, 15 different liens against various properties that he's owned?
Liens, 18 violations.
18 violations.
I also want to indicate that between 21 and 23, Mr. McFadden has reapplied for a liquor license 3 times. And between that period of time, well, let me just strike that. We also have, just as his criminal course of dealing with people, the good moral character is the reason that the city attorney's office is recommending this. We understand that there's not, if it's not a felony, that you can't consider that as an automatic prohibition. However, if you take the totality of Mr. McFadden's behaviors through this course of period of time, including the financial standing that he doesn't have because he hasn't made payments in a prompt manner over the course of 20 years, when he makes the statement that over the course of his 25 years here in West Des Moines, we should judge him on that. That is what the city attorney's office is judging him on, just the totality of everything that he's done as far as the behavior outside the bar, as well as how he's handled his financial transactions with the city, or with the bar and the state taxing authorities. So those are the reasons that we're making that recommendation.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go back to the woman that wanted to speak. I'm going to give her one chance to speak. Ma'am, you've got 5 minutes. Please unmute yourself by hitting *6. Give us your name and address for the record, and you've got 5 minutes.
She's no longer on the line. She hung up.
Okay?
Can I make one correction, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
What I was saying before is that he was charged with a Class D felony, was he not? And he pled down to a aggravated misdemeanor.
Matt Schultz, I think I've already stated my name for the record. The harassment in the first degree is an aggravated misdemeanor. It was pled down to a simple misdemeanor. The other that you were referring to may have started as a Class C felony, but he did an Alford plea on a serious misdemeanor.
Right.
I mean, these are all misdemeanors. And I think that the other perspective that, you know, this council has voted to renew his liquor license for all those times that you've stated that he wasn't paying. This is the first time that the city attorney's office has recommended denial. And over that period of time, every year, the city council has voted in favor. And there is no police report attached to your recommendation showing liquor license violations. And so that's when we say, look at his business and how he's operated his business. This isn't something where you're getting calls of service over and over and over where there's multiple violations. And if there were, this council could revoke his liquor license. You have a procedure for doing so, and that has never happened over the last 15 years. And so, to be clear, what the city attorney has, and I understand, but he has brought charges, not things that are convictions, but allegations. And we're going to judge his moral character on allegations. That's what I'm hearing. What I'm asking the council to do is look at what he actually pled guilty to, look at what he did. He has stood here today and admitted that he has not been perfect. But look at his business record, look at how he has treated his employees, and look at this room full of people, and we would ask that you please renew his liquor license. Thank you.
The point I was trying to make as far as the felony, it was charged as a felony, was it not? Willful injuries, causing serious injury. That was a felony.
Dick, are you asking him to yield to the question?
Yes, please.
Okay.
It is my understanding that it was charged that particular instance that the Alford plea was entered into was charged as a felony, but then was amended to a serious misdemeanor. I mean, I was a prosecutor for 8+ years. I mean, I've prosecuted a lot of people. And I can tell you there sometimes we didn't always get it right. And sometimes after I'd look at the evidence and look at the videos and look at the things that came before me, I would lower the charges. Sometimes I would get a charge from a police officer and I would raise the charge when I filed my trial information. And so to use allegations against somebody, I don't think is fair, and I don't think it's right. Just because a charge was charged that way doesn't mean a person's guilty of it.
No, I don't disagree with that, but what I'm trying to, my point is that he made application 3 times between 21 and 23 in which he was asked Since the licensee was last issued, has anyone listed as the owner, on the ownership page been charged or convicted with a felony offense in Iowa or any other state? To which on all three of those, he answered no. So being charged, he's not telling the truth on this application. So it doesn't matter what he pled to.
I didn't represent him in that specific
Right.
matter.
That doesn't
but-
change it, does it?
But what I would say is, he was granted a deferred judgment. It's not a conviction, and it was to a serious misdemeanor. And I'm saying that I don't believe this council should be judging him on allegations, but should be looking at what he was actually convicted of. And I'm not saying what's been in the media is good, okay? But we've heard Mr. McFadden stand up here today and tell you he's made mistakes and he's sorry. And look at the actual facts. And we're just asking, give him another chance. This council could sit here and say, okay, Mr. McFadden, we're going to give you another chance. If you make one mistake over next year, we're not going to renew it next year. If he violates it, if his businesses violate the liquor license, you have in your city code and in the state code multiple ways in which you can revoke his license. Send a clear message that we are hearing things, we don't like them, but we're going to give you another chance. Please renew his liquor license. Thank you.
All I was trying to say is he was convicted of those charges, harassment first or third degree and causing injury to somebody, assault. So that goes to the good moral character. Does go to his good moral character. It might not be a felony, but in the totality of the circumstances, Mr. McFadden has not been an upstanding citizen. And it's a substantial evidence of his overall moral character, along with the financial inabilities that he's shown to pay his taxes on time, state, federal taxes. You know, he's owes over $500,000 right now, and he's had 18 of these over 20 years. So I'm not exactly sure how his good moral character can be just, pumped up after you admit yourself he's been convicted of these things.
Well,
he's actually admitted to these things.
But it's not. But your statements aren't even
That's
accurate.
all I have to say, Mr. Schultz. I'm not going to argue with you. I don't know what the council's going to do, but that's the recommendations that we make.
That's fair, and I understand that. And that's why I'd ask council and you to look at what we've provided. His tax lien is not above $500,000 currently. And as we said, if that is what is important to the council, continue this 2 weeks and we'll get it paid. It was a business decision to enter into a payment plan. As for the other convictions, we've admitted what the convictions are. We've asked, these are misdemeanors. And when you look at the state code and when you look at the administrative code, that is only one factor. There are 8 factors, and I listed them out in the packet under the administrative code, and there are 7 factors in the state code. So again, if you're looking at the totality of the circumstances, don't pick one factor to eliminate his liquor license. Thank you.
Mr. McFadden, I've got a question for you, if you could step up to the podium. Why is it that when you filled out the application, you failed to put down that you were charged with the felony?
Because I wasn't charged with the felony. My understanding is.
You were not charged with the
My
felony?
understanding, I had an Alfred plea. and I
Wait,
did-
were you not charged? I'm asking if you were charged, not if you were convicted, because the application asks if you were charged with the felony.
My
And you did
understanding-
not put that down, is it correct? I'm asking why you didn't put that down when you knew you were charged with the felony.
If I may.
Go ahead.
My understanding through the applicant that does that for me and does thousands of liquor licenses here in the Des Moines community, one of the largest liquor license insurance providers does the liquor license applications. He asked me, what are your convictions? He pulls my police reports. He asks me what charges I have. When I understand what a charge is, that means what it is that I signed for. And I understand a charge, not what I was accused of. I understand a charge is what I've signed for. I did not do those things to Victoria Davis. I want to make that clear to the public. I took that Alfred plea, and I regret doing it, but I took it for the money. I took it to keep the businesses, to keep my employees employed, and I took it for the SBA loan. I would have fought that all the way. My attorney said, the public's made up their mind, pay the $380 fine, take the whatever misdemeanor it is, and move on, Mr. McFadden, just move on. If you fight this, you're going to lose your $1.2 million SBA loan. You're going to lose $200,000 in fees to this firm that he spoke of, is his firm. We're going to win, but that's your cost. It was a business decision to lose $1.4 million, or take that out for plea and pay a $380 fine.
Okay, talk to me about the other liens against your properties. What happened there? Why weren't those
I don't have any,
taxes
I
paid?
don't have, you're talking about clear back from 1997?
Well, there's
1997, I think
there's 15 different liens against your properties. I'm asking why you
there's
didn't pay
no
those
liens against
taxes.
any of my properties. There's a federal tax lien for $500,000. When that tax lien got put, and that was due to the PPP money, when that tax lien was put in place, we worked, my CPA said, you've got the money in the account, how do you want to do it? And I said, let's work out a payment plan. Satisfied the IRS, never missed a payment. Under 300, I've paid more than half. I pay $17,000 a month. I pay on time or before it's due.
Okay, so you're talking about the PPP loan and paying that back. You didn't realize that was taxable, and you're paying that back.
No
You've
one
been
did.
making payments.
No one did.
Okay.
No one did.
But the other liens against your property for failure to pay the taxes,
When
that's
he's-
what I'm asking
when
about.
he
You're
speaks
saying
of-
you don't have those.
No, when he speaks of 15 liens, he's talking about 15 different properties, and that lien he's referring to is that lien for that taxes. I would like to know, because we've done lien searches.
I'd like you to have a copy of this. I'd like to make it part of the record, too.
I'd
These
like
are-
to explain it.
These
I
are
mean,
files. You had a federal tax lien on November 12, 2004, for 29.
There's no liens on my properties.
Not now, there aren't. You've paid them off. But these go to your inability to timely pay. This is one of the reasons we're making the recommendation. Pardon?
He's got, Mr. McFadden has them so we can take a look at the different liens.
Right. You have a tax lien down here from 1997, I believe.
No.
2001 Internal Revenue Service for $17,000. Those liens were done the same way my liens are done today. We worked out a payment plan or we paid it in full. They put a lien out there, but it gets paid.
They don't put a lien on unless you don't timely file or pay. So that's the point I'm
It gets
trying to
paid
make.
though.
Well, that's the question I'm asking, is can you please talk to us about those liens and why those taxes were not paid in a timely manner?
I don't know if there was a late filing that was done on them, and then lien was filed, or if we had, an issue with money at the time, but we always worked out payment, and we made good. I have a 700 and some credit score. I have no defaults in anybody in this community or anybody. I have an excellent credit record. I can pay the taxes off in full if I wanted to, but my CPA, because we didn't know what PPP was going to be like, or after the post-COVID, we kept the money in the account, and we decided to make a payment plan with the IRS.
Okay.
I want to make something else also clear. Just about every restaurant owner in this town has a federal lien on their business. PPP money, the ERC money, the SBA money they took, the SBA money that many of them took, there's a lien on their business because of it. And it's the same. I pay a higher interest rate through the IRS, though.
You've explained those, Mr. McFadden, but you haven't explained the ones from 2004, 2005, 2018. Those are federal, and then you have numerous state tax liens, both for
They're all
failure to
paid.
pay
They're all
sales
paid.
tax.
If they weren't paid, they're paid right there after the lien. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't buy a house or do anything like I have now with liens,
But that's
And
not
we
the
own a lot
issue,
of
it's the
properties.
prompt filing of those. It's a course of dealing and a course of conduct. For 20 years, you failed to adequately and timely pay your taxes. That's one of the reasons we're making the recommendation. You asked why I was making it.
I understand, but they were paid and they have been paid. And the circumstances, I don't know what they were at that time, but they were paid either through a payment, just like they are now, or they're paid immediately after the lien was filed, or some type of circumstance. I'll give you my financial statements. I have no problem doing that. You can look at them and you determine whether I can pay my bills or not. I think you'd be satisfied after you saw them. And I've asked my counsel to share those with you if you'd like.
I just have one other question. Did you sign those applications that were submitted in regard to the liquor license?
I don't think I did. I think they get through the insurance office.
No, you have to have an owner sign, and I believe you and your ex-wife were the only ones at the time that were owners. So-
If you could show me that, my signature, I think they're probably done through the insurance office. I don't want to get them in any trouble, but, I don't know what you're referring to again about the charges, but I think I explained that.
I'm just saying you're responsible for everything that's submitted.
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to open this up to discussion by the council. If the council has any other questions or any discussion at this point in time, I'll open it up to that. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Councilman McKinney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So Dick, because this is a new item, right? I've spent some time over the last several days, last week, looking at this. And with respect to this application, right, you're saying the application requires disclosure of a charge in addition to a conviction.
Right.
Okay. And you looked at the application for purposes of understanding whether a charge was disclosed or, included in the application?
I have. I've got, the city clerk provided this to me today.
Okay.
I don't have the full record. I can produce that, but this is the portion that came into question, and that's the question was, have you ever been charged and/or convicted of a felony since your last license application? To which this period of time, the answer was no on all of those.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have at this time, Mayor.
Any other discussion, questions, comments? Okay.
I do have a question.
Councilwoman
Mr.
Hartman.
Mayor, and this is for Dick. There was a comment that this individual has presented to us before, and I've gotten liquor license approved in the past. Was it with some of the knowledge of some of the stuff that we have here in terms of what makes this one different than prior liquor license being approved?
No, I'm sure that information was available. Unfortunately, we didn't go back 20 years or look at give it more scrutiny than we did for whatever reason. But a lot of this has come to light too. And there's no question that the financial transactions are a big part of this, but also as the good moral character of Mr. McFadden. And although he's explained away a lot of this, he still pled guilty to a couple of charges that suggest that his moral character is questionable. And so when you take it in totality with the financial violations, it would lead, I believe, a reasonable person to say, I don't know that this gentleman possesses good moral character to obtain a license.
And if a license is not approved, is there a year process to come back, or what?
He can go back within a year, but there's also an appeal process. We don't have the final say. If he just chooses to appeal it to the ABD, then an administrative law judge would take a look at it and do an analysis and to determine whether or not he or she feels comfortable that Mr. McFadden would obey the laws necessary to have a liquor license.
And he's got two appeals, right? He's got the ABD and then district court if he doesn't agree with the
Yes.
ruling of the Alcoholic Beverages Division. Okay.
Thank you, Dick.
Any other comments, questions? Councilman Lotz?
No, the thing that I can't square is how someone over history can build a pretty nice business and make a lot of good decisions on the way. I'm not as distressed about the tax stuff that eventually got paid. I'm a former banker, so I've seen that a bunch. The thing that I can't square and that I'm constantly trying to teach my own children is how one small decision can cascade into something that's very, very bad. I'm somewhat moved by the people who came here, but I think at the end of the day, I think part of this is the penance that you have to pay in order to make amends. And it's not easy to cast the vote the way I'm going to vote tonight, but I think that it is part of it. And so those are my comments.
Yeah, I guess, as mayor, I don't have a vote. That's one of the negatives of becoming mayor is you lose your vote. And I will also comment on the people that came here tonight to speak on behalf of Mr. McFadden. I mean, it is very moving. It sounds like, he does a lot of great things for his employees. That's great that you take care of your employees. That's great. We need to take care of 70,000 people that live within the borders of the city of West Des Moines. We need to make sure that the safety of the public is protected. We also need to uphold the Constitution of the state of Iowa, the Constitution of the United States, and all the laws that go with those things. And, we've had a number of these over my time on the council. I've been here now about 13 and a half years, and it seems like every single time that we have one of these where somebody has had some violation of law, multiple violations of law, failure to pay taxes, the person's in front of us arguing that they are a good moral character, that they don't meet the definition of not being a good moral character under the Code of Iowa. Almost every single time. I find that interesting. I guess that's what you do when you're trying to argue that you want to keep your liquor license. I don't know what the council's going to do tonight. I don't know what their decision is going to be, but we need to make sure that we're protecting the public. And having a liquor license is not a right, it's a privilege. No matter what gets decided here tonight, there is an appeals process. If we don't make the right decision, Mr. Schultz, you said as a prosecutor, you didn't always make the right decision. If the right decision isn't made, there's an appeals process. There's even an appeals process after that, should the council not rule in your favor tonight. But it's up to us to apply the code of Iowa. It's up to us to make sure that we are protecting the public. And we take that very seriously. That's why we're trying to understand here tonight whether or not you are a good moral character under the definition of the law. And I'll tell you, with how many times we've had people come before us and argue that they are good moral character and deserve that liquor license, I'd say, Mr. Schultz, maybe you go to the legislature and have them more clearly define what good moral character is and isn't. But as it's been laid out here by our city attorney, I think that he has proven here that maybe he does not meet the definition of good moral character. That said, we will see what the council decides on the vote. So, Councilman McKinney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this beyond the initial question there. I think, we're here to follow standards. We're here, Mayor, I think you said it well. These standards are given to us to apply. They're not standards that we created. And part of those standards, and I can appreciate the employees, the friends, others that were here, talk about things that have happened with the business. But the question tonight isn't necessarily about the business, it's about the applicant. And what created some additional concern for me is what Dick shared tonight about the application not including the information. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I talked to Chief Scott about this a couple times, talked to City Attorney multiple times. Matt, we met and talked about this several times, or a couple times. And I went back, I read Chapter 123. As a former prosecutor myself, I thought, hey, what does the state say? What do I need to look to? And the state chapter says that it's adopted for the purpose of the welfare, health, peace, morals, and safety of the people of the state, and all its provisions shall be liberally construed for the accomplishment of that purpose. And so, as I thought about this, what is reputation? What is good moral character? And you're right, you provided citations in the letter, but they also talk about this, you may consider this, including but not limited to all these items in there. So it's much more broad than what we've talked about here. And in my heart of hearts, when I think about the evidence that's been presented, if I were to go knock on 20 different doors and talk to the residents of this community and present the information and even dialogue back and forth about, well, was it a simple or a serious or an aggravated, or was it initially a felony and then got pled down? At the end of the day, I don't think that folks in this community and for myself believe that rises to the standard. And so for those reasons, I cannot support the renewal tonight.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Hardman.
Yeah.
Then we're going to put it to a vote.
Okay, I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. And I want to say that I also appreciate folks that are here tonight. As I listened to employees that came here, many of you with so much passion and heart and grit and tears, Mr. McFadden, as you listened to those comments tonight, regardless of the decision here made tonight, your heart should be pretty full having these employees, number one, be here, and number two, speak to what you've done and some of the kindness that you've extended to them. And I want to say I appreciate hearing about that, because it is important that we as employers and bosses really do care about our employees. So I don't, for a moment, feel that you don't care about your employees and that you have been there for them in difficult times and times where they have had, have appreciated how you have shown up. But as I sit in this seat and I listen to the preponderance of evidence and the preponderance of things that have been shared and what Dick has shared and forms and questions that you've signed that aren't 100% accurate in terms of whether you have been charged, and you've signed that you haven't. And that's in my world, and I'm an HR executive, that's called falsification. And so whether you have someone pass on to do that or not, it's not being as truthful and honest. And, as I try to think about things, I'm going to read a quote that has come to me as I'm listening to this discussion. And it's about what character is. And it says, character is like a tree and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. Goodness is about character, which includes integrity and honesty. And it does include kindness and generosity, but it includes moral courage and the like. So more than anything else, it's about how we show up and how we treat people. And so I want to say that it's really hard for me to vote to say yes at this point, given I have said no to folks that sat here that had less people representing them, less people talking to them, but had some other kinds of issues, whether financial or moral character. So this is not a good day for me, and it probably won't be the best day for you. But I want you to know that I've read information, I've listened with great intent, but at the end of the day, I have to make a decision. And if I say yes to you and someone next week comes with similar kinds of things, what do we do? What do we do? And so I believe that regardless of the decision that is made tonight, that there is recourse available for you for an appeal, and let that process do itself out. So I'm going to likely vote supporting the staff's decision based on the ponders of evidence that has been presented tonight and what I've heard and conversations with Dick. While that amount will not make you happy or your attorneys happy or your employees happy, when I push that button, I have to go home and feel like I've did it fair and just and given it due process. And I think I've done that tonight.
Okay.
I know this isn't traditional, and I know the vote already, okay? I will say the one thing that was said tonight was probably what you said in the end, and it hit the hardest.
Okay. Okay.
When someone says you're dishonest, that really takes a toll on a person. It takes a toll on me, my integrity for sure. When he asked about what's being charged, I interpret what's being charged is what you signed for, not what you're accused of. That's my interpretation of charged.
Okay.
I would never want to be dishonest on a liquor license. I know the consequences for that, and I would not personally done it. What my understanding of charged is what I signed in the end for.
I see.
I just want to be clear on that. Now, I understand your vote, and I appreciate your time tonight for at least listening to everybody, and I appreciate you guys.
Okay. And with that, again, we got a motion and a second to deny the application for liquor license for the Grumpy Goat. Okay, with that, please vote.
Three yes.
Okay. Moving on to item 8, receive, file, and/or refer. Item 8A, We've got the independent auditor's report, financial statements, and supplementary and other information as of December 31st, 2022. We will, and this is from the West Des Moines Waterworks, we will receive and file this. With that, we'll move on to item 9, other matters. Are there any other matters that any council person would like to bring up at this time? No. Okay. Hearing none,